I want you to imagine your ideal travel itinerary for just a second. Like maybe it involves a quiet beach or, a predictable museum tour.
Sure, something relaxing.
Right. Now, compare your list to this absolute fever dream of an itinerary. First, you're playing a high-stakes game of bingo with a Russian cosmonaut.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Then you're flying halfway across the world to have a quiet cup of tea with the president of Nepal. And for the grand finale, you are setting off to cross the frozen, unforgiving expanse of Siberia.
Wait, Siberia.
Yes, Siberia. But you're doing it in a tiny 1932 Austin 7 motor car.
Which, I mean, that sounds less like a vacation and more like the plot of an old, mildly unhinged adventure novel.
It really does.
It's just the kind of itinerary that completely defies logic for a normal traveler.
It does, but for the subject of our deep dive today, that's just a glimpse into his actual everyday life. We are talking about David Wortley. He is a 76-year-old who describes himself as a paradigm pioneer. He's a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and someone who has spent over 50 years working right at that fascinating intersection where cutting-edge technology meets raw human potential.
And we should probably mention that at 76, he still walks 5 miles a day and takes absolutely no medication.
Which is just incredible.
It's a remarkable achievement on its own, but what makes Wortley's story so compelling for us today isn't just his physical vitality.
Right, it's what he does with it.
Exactly. It's how he translates this incredibly rich, chaotic life into a portfolio of talks designed specifically for cruise ships and corporate boardrooms. He's taking these wild global experiences and distilling them into very specific, actionable lessons about the human condition.
And so our mission today is to essentially unpack his brain. We are going to explore his travels across 6 continents, dive into his jaw-dropping library of 360-degree digital photography.
Which is massive, by the way.
Huge. And we'll look at these highly engineered, gamified, expect the unexpected icebreaker workshops he runs.
Because it all ties into one central philosophy, right? Using technology to amplify rather than replace our humanity.
Exactly. But before we get into the Siberian car crashes, I need to stop on a phrase you just heard. Paradigm pioneer. It sounds like a great LinkedIn headline.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean in the context of an 80-year-old's life?
It's a totally fair question because it really does sound like corporate jargon. But in Wortley's case, a paradigm pioneer is someone who doesn't just adapt to new ways of thinking.
Okay.
They actively chart the territory before the rest of us even realize the map has changed. Wortley has been doing this since the days of early computing.
So he's always been ahead of the curve.
Always. He looks at a new technology, whether that's the early internet or modern virtual reality, and instead of asking, what does this machine do, he asks, how can this machine fundamentally shift how humans relate to one another?
And you see that play out perfectly in his visual storytelling. Because if you were going to stand in front of a cruise ship auditorium and captivate hundreds of people on a Tuesday afternoon...
You have to do more than just tell them you went to a cool place.
Exactly. You have to transport them. And Wortley doesn't just show a few nice holiday snaps on a projector. We are talking about a massive, immersive digital footprint.
Oh, the scale is unbelievable.
He has uploaded over 23,000 digital photos to Google Maps, and his virtual reality, 360-degree panoramic destination photos, have over 180 million views.
180 million. I mean, that is a staggering number for what is essentially personal documentation.
Yeah. To put that in perspective, I like to think of it as him building his own personal immersive version of Google Earth. But instead of a cold, automated satellite mapping the streets, this is a world curated by a master storyteller.
Right, he's making choices.
Exactly. He's pointing the 360-degree camera, deciding exactly where you should stand, and curating what you should look at to feel the actual temperature and texture of a place.
And the motivation behind those 180 million views is where we see that paradigm pioneer mindset at work. It goes far beyond building a cool travel log or, chasing internet clout.
So what is the real motive?
Well, it emerges when you look at his 360 and 360 living memorials and what he calls his metaverse apartment projects. He isn't just taking pictures, he is capturing digital living memories.
Okay, let's unpack metaverse apartment because again, for a lot of people listening, metaverse conjures up images of teenagers playing video games with bulky headsets.
Yeah, totally.
What does a metaverse apartment look like for an elderly demographic?
So think of it as a digital twin. It's a perfectly mapped virtual replica of a physical space that holds deep emotional significance.
Okay, I'm with you.
Imagine you were trying to help someone suffering from dementia, or maybe an elderly person experiencing profound isolation in a care facility. Wortley uses these 360-degree immersive environments to allow them to literally step back inside their own personal histories.
Oh, wow.
They put on a headset or use a large curved screen, and suddenly they are standing inside a digital replica of their childhood home or revisiting a specific beach where they had a joyful family vacation 50 years ago.
So it's not just a static image. They can look up at the ceiling, turn around to see the doorway behind them.
Yeah, they are spatially inside the memory.
That is incredible.
And that spatial element is the key mechanism here. Neurologically, looking at a flat 2D photograph in an album stimulates memory, but it's passive.
Right.
When you place someone in a 360-degree spatial environment, it triggers the brain's spatial navigation systems, the hippocampus. It tricks the brain into feeling presence.
So they actually feel like they're back there.
Exactly. For a dementia patient, that sense of presence can unlock episodic memories and conversational abilities that a normal photograph simply cannot reach.
Wow.
The technology is incredibly advanced, but the application is profoundly, deeply human.
It bridges the gap between a fading mind and a forgotten world. That makes the 180 million views make complete sense. Like, people are starving for that kind of immersive, visceral connection to their past and to the globe. And his own connection to the globe is vast. His lifelong journey kicked off way back in 1966 as a school kid from Boston Grammar School in the UK, going on a trip to Moscow.
Which is a pretty epic school trip for 1966.
Definitely. And since then, he's flown the Concorde, had that bingo night with the cosmonaut, sipped tea with Nepal's president. He's collected experiences across 6 different continents.
But here is the challenge he faces when designing his cruise ship talks. Having a massive photo library and 180 million views only proves you can capture a beautiful location.
Right. It doesn't automatically mean you're a good speaker.
Exactly. Holding a live audience's attention, especially a leisure audience who, just came from the all-you-can-eat buffet.
Right. They're probably half asleep.
Right. It requires epic narrative tension. You need triumph, you need disaster, and you need a healthy dose of sheer, unadulterated absurdity.
Which brings us to the absurdity of his friend Chris. Chris decides he wants to drive a vintage car, a 1932 Austin 7 named Babushka, from London all the way to Tokyo.
As one does.
Naturally. And Wortley is there to document the story.
And to really appreciate the lunacy of this, we need to clarify what an Austin 7 actually is.
Please do.
This is a car built before World War II. It basically looks like a motorized tin can. It has roughly the horsepower of a modern riding lawnmower, tiny bicycle-like wheels, and zero insulation.
Oh my God.
Taking a primitive machine like that across 11,000 miles of the Siberian wilderness is not a road trip. It is an immense mechanical and physical endurance test.
Let's look at the mechanics of this endurance test, because the route logs are wild. They purposefully start the journey at that same Boston Grammar School, bringing his life full circle back to that 1966 Moscow trip.
Right.
But things go wrong almost immediately. Deep in Russia, in a town called Valday, Babushka suffers a catastrophic breakdown. The gear on the distributor completely shreds.
And for those who aren't vintage car mechanics, the distributor is basically the nervous system of the engine. It routes the high-voltage electrical current to the spark plugs in the correct order. If the gear that turns it is shredded into metal shavings, the engine is dead. You aren't going anywhere.
So they are stranded in the freezing cold in a remote Russian town. But here's the incredible part. They managed to get word back to a network of Austin 7 enthusiasts in the UK.
Yeah, this is a beautiful moment of cross-border technological collaboration.
It really is. These guys back in Britain essentially talk them through the process of taking the shattered pieces of the old gear and jury-rigging effects just to get the engine firing again.
Which is a miracle in itself.
Right. So they limp across the mighty Volga River. But then it gets worse. In a town called Mogocha, the wheels quite literally physically detach from the car.
It's just a cascading series of disasters in one of the most unforgiving environments on the planet.
Okay, but I have to stop and represent the skeptical listener here. If I am on a luxury cruise ship, sipping a pina colada by the pool, the last thing I want to hear about is 2 guys freezing to death in Siberia while their 80-year-old car violently disintegrates beneath them.
That's a fair point.
That sounds like a stressful, grueling survival mission. How on earth does he frame this so a leisure audience actually wants to listen?
That is the exact hurdle any public speaker faces when dealing with heavy material. If he just framed it as, look how much we suffered, They would tune out.
Right, they'd leave the theater.
But Wortley uses these mechanical disasters as a Trojan horse. He isn't really talking about cars at all. He uses the breakdowns to illustrate human resilience and the profound, life-altering kindness of strangers.
Ah, so the broken distributor gear is just the setup.
Precisely. When they are struggling in Valday, or when the wheels fall off in Mogocha, it forces them into vulnerable situations where they have to rely on the locals.
So they can't just power through on their own?
Exactly. In Krasnoyarsk, it's a local Russian rugby club that takes them in out of the cold, offers them incredible warm hospitality, and actually does the heavy mechanical lifting to get Babushka back in shape. Wow.
And later in the journey, when the car inevitably breaks down again in Japan, a local man named Fujiro and his family come out of nowhere, rescue the car, and help them get back on the road. Fujiro actually becomes an honorary member of their team.
So Wortley is using these stories to perfectly encapsulate his overarching life motto.
Yes, which is treat triumph and disaster in equal measure as imposters.
Treat triumph and disaster in equal measure as imposters. I love that. The cruise audience realizes that the disasters were actually the most valuable parts of the trip.
Because the broken car created incredible moments of human connection that they never would have experienced if the engine had run perfectly.
Right. He's telling them, the unexpected detour, the moment the wheels fall off your own plans, is usually where the real magic happens.
It's a brilliant pivot.
It really is. And Wortley's travels taught him the immense value of connecting with absolute strangers across the globe. But he also realized something profound.
What's that? You don't actually need to cross Siberia in a motorized tin can to find fascinating people. Sometimes the most fascinating person in the world is sitting right next to you at a corporate retreat or across from you at a dining table on the cruise ship.
Oh, absolutely.
He realized he needed to engineer a way to force that same Siberian vulnerability inside a safe, comfortable ballroom.
And this transition from being a storyteller on a stage to a facilitator in the room is a huge part of his portfolio. He doesn't just want to talk at the audience. He wants to build systems that get them talking to each other.
Which leads us to his interactive Expect the Unexpected icebreaker workshops. He designs these for groups of up to 50 people. Now, Wortley openly admits he is naturally shy. He does not find it easy to just walk up to a stranger and make small talk.
Because small talk is inherently flawed. It's superficial, it relies heavily on social status, and for a lot of people, it is incredibly anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, I hate it.
Same. By introducing a game mechanic, Wortley bypasses the awkwardness entirely. You give people a shared mission, a strict set of rules, and a reason to interact that goes significantly deeper than asking what they do for a living or commenting on the weather.
Let's look at the mechanics of connection he uses, starting with one of his signature games called the Fickle Lanyard of Fate.
This is such a clever concept.
It is. I want you, listening right now, to imagine walking into this room. Before the event, you had to submit a secret photograph and a single sentence about something nobody in the room knows about you.
Like a weird hidden talent, an embarrassment, a profound memory.
Exactly. Those secrets are printed on cards with a random guest's name and picture and attached to lanyards. When you walk in, you are handed a random lanyard, but it's not your own.
Right.
Your mission is to mingle, interrogate people, and track down the true owner of that secret, while all the photos and secrets are anonymously posted on a wall for everyone to see.
So everyone in the room is simultaneously playing a detective and acting as a person of interest.
Okay, I get the theory, but I have to push back hard on this.
Yeah.
If I'm at a corporate retreat with my boss and my coworkers, I'm going to be sweating bullets if I know someone in that room is walking around with my deepest, weirdest secret on their chest.
Oh, 100%.
You are forcing people to investigate someone else's deeply held vulnerabilities. How does he get a room full of stiff professionals over that initial wall of absolute panic?
It's a very natural reaction to feel that panic, but that engineered vulnerability is the genius of the system. First of all, you only submit a secret you are ultimately willing to share.
Okay, that's fair.
But more importantly, by gamifying the interaction, he entirely removes the social anxiety of how to bring up your authentic self. Think about it. You don't have to awkwardly shoehorn your interesting life story into a dry conversation by the coffee machine.
The game provides a script.
Exactly. It demands that someone walks up and asks you about it. The lanyard acts as a shield against the awkwardness, creating an immediate deep engagement.
It provides permission to skip the small talk. It's like a fast-forward button for intimacy. And he reinforces this with another game called Judging a Book by Its Cover.
Oh, this one is great, too.
He puts people in small groups at tables, hands them pictures of strangers, and gives them a list of extraordinary real-life stories. The table has to debate and match the face to the story.
Again, the mechanism forces you to confront your own cognitive biases.
Yes. You realize very quickly that you cannot deduce what a human being has lived through just by looking at their haircut or their suit.
And he even takes it a step further with his most theatrical concept, the gate-crashing guests.
I love this one. Imagine you were at a polite 60th birthday party. Wortley literally hires actors to mingle at the event.
And these actors pretend to be legitimate guests, but their sole job is to spread highly amusing, entirely fictional backstories about the host's family to the actual guests.
It sounds like pure chaos.
It is controlled chaos, and it serves a brilliant psychological purpose. It disrupts the standard, polite, and often boring party dynamic.
Because everyone is so confused.
Exactly. It creates an unforgettable shared experience because the real guests inevitably end up banding together, whispering to each other, trying to bond over these absurd rumors to figure out what is true and what is a planted lie.
It injects a sense of play into a room of adults.
Yes.
So what does this all mean when we tie it back to his central thesis? His talks, especially Expect the Unexpected, Harnessing Human Potential, they preach that every single room has untapped potential sitting in unlikely places.
And he provides some wonderful examples of this from his own life to prove the point. He talks about encountering people who completely defy societal expectations.
Like who?
People like Frank Bingley, whom he affectionately calls the webmaster milkman. He's a guy who delivered milk by day, but was simultaneously navigating and building out the early architecture of the web.
That's amazing.
Or, even more profoundly, his good friend, Simon Stevens.
Oh, we have to talk about Simon Stevens. Simon is a man with cerebral palsy, which obviously presents immense physical limitations in the real world. But Wortley introduces him as a techno superstar.
This is perhaps the ultimate aha moment of Wortley's entire philosophy. In the physical world, if you played Judge a Book by its cover with Simon, society's biases might lead you to underestimate him based on his physical disability.
Right.
But in the digital space, those physical limitations vanish. Simon Stevens used virtual reality to become a pioneer, literally hosting the first ever metaverse nightclub that's specifically designed for people in wheelchairs.
Let's just pause and marvel at the mechanics of that. Through VR, a man whose physical body restricts his movement is suddenly the life of a global party.
Yeah.
He is a DJ, a host, a connector of people who might otherwise be isolated in their own homes. The technology completely levels the playing field.
It is the ultimate proof of Wortley's thesis. Technology isn't isolating us in cases like Simon's. It is the exact tool that liberates human potential.
That makes perfect sense.
Wortley's gamified corporate workshops are designed to help you find the Simon Stevens or the Frank Bingley sitting quietly at your own table. He uses the games to prove that the person next to you is infinitely more complex and interesting than your initial assumption.
It's a beautiful lens through which to view the world. So to bring this all together for you listening, David Wortley isn't just giving standard travelogues where he points at a map and says, I went here.
No, not at all.
He is utilizing a half-century of technological evolution. He watched the world move from steam trains pulling out of a Boston station to 360-degree digital twins operating in the metaverse.
He has mastered the tools of the modern age, whether that's capturing 180 million views on 360 cameras to help dementia patients remember their childhoods, or creating complex, gamified environments with simple cards in a corporate workshop.
But the technology itself is never the end goal, is it?
No, it is always just the vehicle.
The ultimate purpose of all of it, the VR headsets, the digital memorials, even the broken distributor gears on an Austin 7 in the freezing Siberian mud, is simply to bring humans closer together, to amplify our empathy and force a shared experience.
He proves through his life's work that the most disruptive technology in the history of mankind isn't artificial intelligence, and it isn't the metaverse. It's genuine, unexpected human connection.
So, we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. Think about Wortley's networking games and put yourself in that room.
Right.
If you were attending one of his workshops right now and you had to create a fickle lanyard of fate for yourself, what would your one secret sentence be? What is the extraordinary, bizarre, or profound thing about you that nobody in your office knows?
That's a tough one.
It is. And more importantly, the next time you are standing in a crowded room or sitting on a train, look at the people around you. How many incredible untold stories are you simply walking right past because you didn't have a game to give you permission to ask?
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, because you never know when the person sitting quietly next to you might have just finished playing bingo with a Russian cosmonaut.